So the developers over at Camouflage continue to spoil us with more Arkham Shadow content before the release date in October. Yesterday, they released their third developer Q&A and showed us all new game footage and answered a bunch of questions about the game going forward. Since the last video that I did where I gave an opinion that nobody asked for, that opinion being my own, did very well compared to my other videos, that means I'm back here again to share my thoughts. I watched through the video a few times and I wrote down a few things that I noticed and that I thought were cool, and most of them are pretty obvious, but I still wanted to talk about it. There are so many things that I could talk about in this video, but I'm only going to talk about a few of them, and even though it's only a few, it's still a lot. So if you haven't seen the video yet, I would very highly recommend that you do so, because the developers in the Batman Arkham Videos channel both deserve some love. Watch that, and then come back here. First off, the video was 30 minutes? I mean, come on, they're spoiling us, so thank you for that. Secondly, right off the bat, we saw a combat move that some Arkham influencers had talked about before where Batman actually breaks the leg of a rat. Wow, that looked awesome. They followed that up with a super fast beatdown that is more reminiscent of the other Arkham games, and I love it. Later on, we also got our first look at the actual body of Batman, which the developers have mentioned that you'll be able to do. Something that contributes to some of the theories that players have had about this game so far. Right here, you can actually see an Anarchy A, which means, man, I just want to see how that fits into the game going forward. Is he going to be part of the plot? Is it just an Easter egg? I don't know. The developers mentioned in this video that there will not be side quests in the game, which is reminiscent of Arkham Asylum, so he would have to be involved in the main plot somehow, right? Something here that VR players may notice, if they have experience, is that Batman actually kind of grips the wall here, as he looks around the corner before taking this guy down in a stealth takedown or corner takedown. If you don't have a lot of experience in VR, this may seem like it doesn't have much meaning to you, but in my experience with it, it's something that's really helpful. Essentially, what this does in other games is, if it's working the way I think it is, and I could be wrong about this in the end, but if it's working the way that I think it is, it allows VR players to look around a corner by grabbing the wall and moving themselves rather than actually physically leaning around the corner. This can be helpful for players who may be confined to a sitting position and can't really lean too far but want to, or it can be helpful for players who are near the edge of their boundary and can't lean without going out of their boundary and don't want to break their immersion in the moment by trying to move around in their boundary before they look around the corner. So overall, it's kind of a small thing, but it makes me happy to see this accessibility. There is another takedown later in the video that you can see right here where Batman drops on one enemy and then hits him once or twice and then kind of chokes him out and knocks him out, which I thought was really cool to see. It makes that takedown just a little more interactive. Still looking at Predator encounters, we saw that there was a bit of a detection meter.
I'll take them apart one by one.
Got him! He's here!
Which is different compared to how it works in the other Arkham games in the past, where technically they had an immediate detection. It was just a case of whether or not the AI was completely blind to you as you moved around. The developers talked about something interesting with the cutscenes here.
You are in the scene, right? And that's why, one of the cinematics that we didn't show in the demo, but was right after what people had played in the full game, is the cinematic between Commissioner Gordon, a district attorney, Harvey Dent, and Batman, in which we start off with some interactivity, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, you go in there as Batman and you see Dent in the room and he's kind of surprised to see you. And so he reaches out to shake your hand. And one of the things I love about the way that we approach this is you actually have a choice there. You can shake his hand or you cannot shake his hand, right? He's going to react differently.
Exactly. I think it just builds the immersion and, again, leans into the strengths of VR storytelling.
So you're telling me that we can interact with NPCs in cutscenes? I think that has got to be one of the coolest things about this game that I've seen so far. I will absolutely shake Harvey's hand in that cutscene just because it is such a cool idea for VR storytelling. The fact that they will give you certain gestures to do that aren't just handing them or taking an object from them like other VR games do, it just brings it to a whole nother level. We have a bit of a nod to the development of Robin right here on top of how they talked about it in the video. We've got a little newspaper clipping here that talks about a trapeze tragedy, and I think we all know who this is referring to. Another really cool feature is the fact that we will be able to use the phone, and there are numbers that you can dial and get an answer from. That is a whole nother level of immersion in VR that just elevates this to levels I haven't seen before. So bravo, Camouflage. Bravo.
I'm Harvey Dent, and I want to thank you for calling the Dent for Gotham campaign. For information on my platform and what I believe in, press 1. To make a donation, press 2. If you'd like to volunteer to help support my efforts to make Gotham a safer city for law-abiding citizens, press 3.
At one point during the video, they actually pulled out some pie charts that they made in regards to how different gameplay elements were implemented into Arkham Asylum and how they sort of tweaked those when making Arkham Shadow. Seeing the increased amount of investigation and puzzles made me feel quite excited because I really enjoy leaning into the detective part of Batman. Now, there was one thing that I was hoping we would get from this video, but we didn't, and that was the official release day. We've known for a while that the game will release in October, but we don't know specifically what day yet. We have our theories, but nothing has been entirely confirmed. While we may not have received the specific date, Ryan Payton did talk about the MetaConnect event that is happening next week, so I've got my fingers crossed that we'll actually learn about the actual release date at the event. Another thing that I was hoping they would touch on but didn't is something that I actually mentioned in my last video about Arkham Shadow. Now, some of you in the comments of that video also talked to me about this, which was the idea of a challenge mode similar to the other Arkham games. Now, as of right now, it seems like it won't be available at launch, but they are considering adding it after launch. As someone who loves to do combat challenges, I really hope that they add it. I mean, I'd even pay extra to have it later on as a DLC. While I didn't technically go over everything that I saw in the video, because once again, that would be a very long video because I would be talking about every single question they asked, those were just a few of the things that I felt were relatively important to talk about. Now, unsurprisingly, I continue to be incredibly excited for this game, and depending on what we see at MetaConnect next week, I might make another video about whatever we learn there. Once again, I have my fingers crossed that the next update that we get will include the specific day that it comes out, and I am excited to see what other things we could learn as well. Moving forward, I do still plan on recording a full playthrough of the game. I will try to get the gameplay out as fast as I can once it comes out, so you can see an Arkham veteran trying to figure his way through this amazing looking game. With all of that in mind, feel free to let me know down in the comments what you're looking forward to about the game. Talk about what you've liked so far, what you didn't like so far. I want to hear everything. I want to thank you all so much for the support on the channel recently because, holy cow, it really means a lot to me. And until then, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.